Thanks for coming along to our session today. We're really excited to come and talk to you about our co-design journey. So just a little bit about TADWA. TADWA does stand for Technology for Aging and Disability WA. And just a little bit about what is at the heart of TADWA. At the heart of TADWA is helping people do what's important to them. So we have 5 business areas. We do home modifications, technology and computer services, therapy services, custom solutions, vehicle modifications, and pretty much we would say anything from ramps to robots. We can help people with that. But at the end of the day, it really boils down to helping people with what's important to them. So at TADWA, we're an organization who's been around for 35 years this year, and we knew that we had a challenge that we needed to face, and that is that we knew that the complexity of our internal systems and the complexity that people were facing with NDIS, between the two complexities, it was really hard for people to figure out how to get any kind of assistive technology, how to get home modifications, how to get those things included in their plan. And we knew that we were having trouble getting people navigated through this wonderful system that we built. And we needed to actually speak to people with lived experience in order to find out the best way for people to be able to navigate our service and be able to actually help us define what the customer journey was in accessing services through our organization. I think why then is pretty straightforward. We knew that our system was not as consistent as it needed to be, and it certainly wasn't very well defined. And it needed to be much more straightforward. And so we spoke to customers like Jenny, and they told us a few things about our service.
Yeah. So
I can get it forward now.
So I use TADWA for both a customised trike solution and for home modifications. And while the overall experience and the process was really good, there were a few issues around the process and the customer journey that I went through. As a new customer to TADWA, I didn't really fully understand what they did and how they did it. So I think there was a real lack of knowledge on my part, and probably needed a bit more understanding from them. I felt like I probably needed some more guidance and almost have my hand held throughout the process, especially with regards to the trike. It was a new piece of AC equipment. It was going to be customised, and I felt like I just probably needed a bit more guidance from people that knew about this information. I think as well that at times I didn't quite know who the main point of contact was. So often there was a lot of people involved, and that was great, but I didn't always know who to go to if there were any issues or problems along the way. And also a lot of my conversations, especially around the trike, were with the technicians, so they really knew the technical stuff, which was great. But often I felt that, or in hindsight looking back, I think there were a few things that we missed around the bigger picture, and maybe some of that environmental scanning and issues that come into those kind of customised solutions.
Yeah. So what did we do? Well, we invited people. We invited people along to help us make a co-design team, to help us understand what the customer journey should look like at TADWA. So we invited people, and when we invited them, we gave them sort of a brief about what our understanding is about, or was about, co-design and how that might work, and invited people to opt in to join us if they liked, and could commit to 5 workshops that we held that were a few hours long each. So it was a real commitment for the whole team to be able to sort of hold on all the way through.
Yeah, and so for me, from my point of view as a customer, it was really nice to get that invitation to be asked to be joined in. It made me feel important and made me feel like my views and input were important to TADWA. It was really well detailed. The information that they gave sort of covered timeframes, roles and responsibilities of the co-design workshop, what they were trying to achieve and why. And this all sort of helped me to understand what they were trying to do and whether or not I felt that I could commit to that. I've also just learned about co-design from doing another course, and so I was really interested in this sort of methodology and how this can really impact the business, not just for the business process, but for the customer as well. So it was great timing for me, and yeah, really excited to be part of it.
So how did we do this? We started with co-design principles. So I think if you Google co-design, there's a lot of different ways. There are toolkits on how to do it. There's a lot of things out there that you can look at. So I wouldn't say that ours was the perfect way to do co-design, but what we did was we started with the principles of co-design. And for us, I think that one of the big thing was making sure that everybody involved in the co-design team had equal seats and equal voices at the table. So we were all there to work and work collectively on getting this customer journey right for people with lived experience. And we did a lot of fun things to try to break down those barriers, I suppose, between so a TADWA thing and a customer thing, those sorts of experiences. But making sure that everybody had a contribution that they could make, and to make sure that people understood it. We weren't running a focus group or a network sort of advisory committee or things like that, and not that there's anything wrong with those things, but we really wanted to make sure that the people that were involved in the group all had equal say in everything from what was being said to deciding who was going to do the note taking and organizing the meetings and things like that. So the co-design team decided that TADWA would be better to take notes, and that was fine. But yeah, so just that everybody had an equal seat at the table. We broke the way we broke down the sessions. We actually had some questions that we wanted to ask the co-design team and get their input. We got staff feedback on the same questions and brought that to the co-design team so that the co-design team could understand what TADWA staff were thinking about around a particular issue, and they could provide feedback. So we had staff sort of on the periphery involved in the process, as well as the co-design team core. Did you have anything else? No? Okay, we're moving on.
Oh.
Cool. That's all right.
Oh, no. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I throw this up here, this word cloud, because I'm a big fan of word clouds generally, but these words are taken from a internal report that we've been writing about our co-design experience, and I just liked the way that the words sort of popped out. I guess that co-design was front and center of what we were trying to do, and that it was a real journey and a team effort involving our customers. So those things were featured predominantly in the word cloud. So that's what it looked like, I suppose, in words. And that's what it looked like in practice. So you can tell we were working hard, but having a good time along the way. We here. Yeah. So in our experience, we just thought about what would it take and what did it take, I suppose, for us to have this co-design experience happen. And the first thing that needed to happen was we needed to make an investment. Organizations make investments in lots of different things, but for us, the investment in inviting people in and showing them all about ourselves, it was an important part of it. So it requires an investment. And all members, I think, of the co-design team had to be brave, wouldn't you say, Jenny?
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, and to be able to accept feedback about things that had worked well and things that hadn't worked well at all from their perspective, and being able to keep staff up to speed with the work of the team, so it didn't look like it was this little isolated group just sort of beavering away doing random things. It was actually a part of the business that we were trying to incorporate in the business itself. And also feeding back information and recommendations from the co-design team to TADWA leadership, so that it's not just a sort of a token piece of work that was actually integrated into our practice.
I think as well there was a lot of respect on all parts. From the customers, we had to be very open and honest and transparent about the good, the bad and the ugly, and at times there were difficult conversations that we all had to have. But also from the business point of view, you guys had to be very open and honest and very brave in putting their hand up. And I think there was everyone kind of respected each other for that, and that helped with the process as well.
Yeah, we revealed a lot on both sides. So we did have some assumptions, and there were things that we thought that we knew. In the customer journey, we thought our language, generally, we thought our language was understandable, but the language that we were using as an organization wasn't relatable. So you might be able to understand it, but we couldn't really figure out where you were in that. We thought our customer journey was accurate, the way we'd sort of plotted it out, but we missed really important steps. And we thought we knew who our customers were, where they were coming from. We had the impression that all of our customers that were coming to us for AT and home mods were coming to us mostly from therapists, from therapy providers, but every single person on our co-design team did not come from a therapy provider. In fact, nobody did. So that was an interesting assumption on our part. And we thought that our service offering was, we thought it was more relational, but it was actually more transactional. So we had some assumptions going in as an organization about what we thought, and those were really turned on their heads.
So my initial assumptions of TADWA as a new customer was that initially I only thought that they provided assistance for equipment such as trikes and recreational equipment, and it wasn't until much later on that I actually found out that they actually offered home modifications and many other services. And then I actually went on to use TADWA for some of those other services, such as grab rails in the shower, grab rails around my pool area. My other assumption, and this wasn't just mine, this came up quite a lot in the co-design group, was that it was rude to complain, or if there were issues, it sort of seemed rude to bring those issues to the forefront. I think there was a big thought process around this, in that when a service provider is doing you a service and they do a very good service and they provide you with that help, you're just very grateful for that. And so to put your hand up and say this isn't quite right, or I'm not happy with that, almost came across a bit ungrateful. And so that was a big assumption that we found, that all the customers on the co-design team all felt very similar around that.
We had a lot of conversation about why that was true. So our assumption was that if things hadn't gone right and people weren't happy with the final product of what they'd ended up with, that they would say something. But that definitely wasn't true. So we spent a lot of time talking about, sort of fleshing that out. Why would you not say when something didn't work for you? Why would you not put up your hand and say, look, actually, this is not what I wanted? And it came down to what Jenny was saying, so the notion about, you've done a nice job, thank you very much. And it's like, well, that's not good enough, and it wasn't right. So that was a really interesting thing to talk through, for sure. So here's the pretty picture. The top blue boxes was the customer journey that we had plotted out at TADWA. This is how we thought things were going to go. We thought people would find out about TADWA, they would enter the system, they would have an assessment, there'd be some quoting and scheduling, to do the work, we'd complete it, and then they'd exit. So, then what happened, Jenny?
So, when we actually looked at the customer journey, we came to the conclusion that it wasn't linear. It was in fact circular and ongoing, and that there was a natural flow that customers take whenever they follow any journey with a provider. So we realised that for most customers, once they become a customer of that provider, but they'll probably become a customer for life. As their needs and requirements change, but those providers will help them throughout their life with those needs. And so when we saw the exit part of TADWA's customer journey, while there always are going to be some customers that will get to that point of exit and then not want to follow through, for most customers there isn't really an exit. It is that journey starts again for the next product or service that they need. So after looking at the TADWA customer journey, there were some stages that did not actually reflect the journey that most of us customers had actually been on. So they made complete sense as a business model and complete sense for the business to follow as an internal process, but they didn't relate or reflect what a customer was actually going through. And one of the key points that really stood out to all of us was entering the system. We kind of looked at that and thought, well, we understand what that means from an internal process, but what does that actually mean for the customer? What does entering the system look like, and what does it actually mean? So the other thing that came up as well was about the language that was used. Again, it needed to be easy, simple, and relevant. And it also needed to, so TADWA are very much about relationship building, and yet the customer journey felt very transactional.
Transactional, yeah.
Is the word. And so it didn't feel like it had that customer building or relationship building to it. So that was really important. As a team, we were actually given homework, and we were asked to go away and to think about, in an ideal world, what would we like the customer journey to look like? And what was really nice was that we were given the freedom to be completely expressive. We could be really creative with the style, the colours, the language that we use, and to really think outside the box. And collectively, we came up with the bottom image that you see now.
So that's a lot, yeah, very much different to what we had originally thought. But as Jenny was saying, we have kind of, there's a little bit of a joke now, sort of like, at what point did I enter the system? You know, entering the system, what does that mean? How did I get here? What does it exactly mean? And so, yeah, and so the more we talked about it in the team, we were thinking, yeah, that's actually a little bit, it is kind of odd. And it's very boxy and linear and doesn't really make a lot of sense for people that are seeking information. And some of the language that the team came up with that was much better was around discovery and engagement and those sorts of things, and customer care being the last step of a particular journey, but then looping back around again to discovery. And so it didn't look like people just sort of exited and dropped off, the edge someplace.
I was just going to say one point that came up quite a lot through those discussions as well was this kind of environmental scanning and looking at the bigger picture. Often people will sort of talk to the one person who needs that solution or that product, but we often forget that there's so many people involved in that person's life, whether it be carers, support workers, cleaners, family, friends, people who are coming in and out of that household every day, who actually all impact that final product or solution. And so it's about, we felt that the customer journey was really this process through, and it was discovery through conversations, and having those conversations with a wider audience rather than just that singular person.
Yeah, exactly. So we did promise you and have fun in the process, so this is the fun part up here. Look, I promise you, we had such a good time. We all learned so much, but there's something nice about a cheese plate, right? But it was more than that. I think, you know, it was getting to know people, and we were really intentional about how we were making sure that it wasn't just all customers on one side of the table, TADWA people on the other side of the table, and sort of facing off, and sort of, we just wanted to make it so we were really comfortable with each other while we're discussing things that were really personal for people. So from an organizational perspective, you know, you can get a little bit precious about your process, and you worked really hard on it and stuff. And it is hard to reveal that, but it's also hard for customers to be telling you their personal story and their personal journey. So there was a lot of revealing, but I think heaps of fun in the process. I know for myself and for other members of the co-design team, everybody said that it was the best part of the month. We had a blast. We had a lot of fun.
I think as well, by keeping it fun and interesting, it kept the energy really high. And it made everyone each week or each month when we met really motivated to want to be there, to want to see change, and to actually want to be part of the process. So that was really good.
So what's next from here? So out of the 5 workshops on the customer journey, the co-design team came up with what actually turned out to be 13 recommendations. So the 13 recommendations on each step, well, there were 3 recommendations from each step of the customer journey as it had been defined previously that have come through the leadership team at TADWA, and those have all been discussed in action, and those will be rolling out over the next few months. But I think one thing that was really good was we did try to do some things just as we were working through the customer journey. So the co-design team picked up something with one of our letters that we had sent out and told us the letter didn't make any sense. So we changed it straight away. And I think it was nice to be able to do that, like be able to start making changes really quickly without waiting till the whole thing was finished and then putting a bow on it and saying, okay, now we're going to make the changes.
I think that also made it feel like that TADWA were really taking this seriously, and that they really wanted to implement those changes. The fact that things were being implemented in between each workshop rather than waiting to the end was really nice to see. It was great.
So we'll also have a new customer journey that's a lot more relevant for people. And we're developing a welcome pack, and we're going to bring the co-design team back into it to help us develop something for people with disability that makes sense in terms of how to access level 3 and 4 AT, how you can access home modifications, and being able to put that in a way that people will understand and be relatable instead of just sounding very program sort of language like. And I guess the last dot point, keeping the band together for future work. I think, again, everybody really enjoyed the process, and you know, we've just had ongoing relationships, so we really want to keep the group together because we found it incredibly beneficial from an organizational perspective, but also personally. You know, it's always nice to make more friends, so that's really good. Anything else? I'm going to show you, hopefully, just a really short video, about 1.5 minutes, about the co-design experience from customers' point of view.
The first one, I think, was more of a kind of a feeling our way around, but I reckon within about half an hour of the first one, I think we all gelled really, really well. And once we knew we weren't going to get yelled at for having perhaps differing opinions, that set the tone, I think, for the rest of the meetings.
The workshop was really valuable. Got to learn a lot about TADWA and their processes, procedures, the people that work here, the customer journey and kind of what they were trying to achieve. And it's really good to kind of share knowledge between them and us as a customer, share our experiences and our story really. Everyone there made us feel really comfortable. I felt like we was a group and a team rather than TADWA and us. There was no sort of hierarchy. It felt very, just very organic and very easy and natural to kind of have that conversation. And some of those conversations were really personal, but it felt really easy to share that because there was no judgment. It was just a very open and honest discussion.
I had no idea about how diverse the work that you do. Jenny had handrails and also a trike, but I didn't realise all the other functions that you offer clients, so that was really good.
I really liked the workshop, getting to know how it was behind the scenes. I found it really helpful.
For me, I guess it was knowing that they actually wanted our input, and we've already seen some of the things that we've suggested being implemented, so that was really cool. Like, it's not just a token gesture, you guys actually want to know what we think.
I think just that sharing of knowledge and sharing experiences between a company and a customer can help both sides, so it really helps me now for future. If I need to use TADWA, I've got a better understanding of how they work, and also hopefully TADWA, I've now got a better understanding of how they can improve the customer journey.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, friends.